My name is Jeremy Devins, and this is the Quiet Mind Astrology Podcast with the weekly horoscope from Friday, July 19th and the week following. And we're going to talk about the transits happening this week. I'll give a little personal life update if you're curious. And if you want to go deeper into understanding your chart and astrology, you can now sign up for the Become Your Own Astrologer workshop that'll be live on August 1st at noon Pacific time. So you can go to quietmindastrology.com and sign up now for free. Or you can go to quietmindastrology.com/free workshop and go right to that page and sign up for the Become Your Own Astrologer workshop. This is the fourth year I'm offering this, and this is basically the workshop I wished that I had when I was learning astrology early on, because it is so vast and there is a lot of confusing stuff out there. So, this workshop, my intention is to break it all down into 7 simple steps. So, you have a path to learn astrology way faster than most people, way faster than I did it. Took me many years and lots of mistakes. In that workshop, I'll talk about the common mistakes people make, how to read your chart, how to interpret things, how to make predictions. It's super fun. Even if you've joined before in the past, this will be new again. I always revise these things every time I offer them. So you'll still want to join. And just by joining, you'll be entered to win a free reading with me. So everyone who joins live will get an opportunity for that. So quietmindastrology.com is where you can sign up now for the free Become Your Own Astrologer workshop. And part of being your own astrologer is knowing what's going on in your own chart from birth and then what's going on in the current transits and how that affects things and certain energies going on. One of them for me as a Virgo rising, and I'm going to share a bit about myself for a little bit here. If you just want to get to the horoscope, you can skip ahead in the timestamps. But as Virgo rising, and anybody who's Virgo rising or moon right now, got Saturn over my 6th house of health and wellness since it's been in Aquarius for about 2 years now and until early 2025. Saturn over the 6th house brings challenges to the 6th house of health and brings challenges to diseases. So I've had some challenging, interesting health stuff in the last 2 years, including this recent kidney infection I've shared about here on the podcast, which is still not fully recovered. And I've found a really interesting thing here. I went to this health specialist who I know, and he's been helping a lot, giving me some herbal recommendations like neem and dandelion. This all helps a lot with the bladder and the kidneys. And he asked how I was doing, and I told him like I was doing really good, and then things got worse again. And he said, you have to be extremely vigilant about your diet right now. And that's what Saturn in the 6th house does. It brings this need to be very disciplined, very firm boundaries with your health. And I was pushing that. And I was feeling like really good, super healthy, really clear, eating some foods I don't normally eat. And just like, sure, whatever. And my body's not happy. So I took that to heart, and that really landed with me what he was saying. Like, you need to be very vigilant with it. And that's the thing, wherever Saturn is in your chart by transit, it's going into that house. And now you've got to have very firm boundaries in that area where you're going to face obstacles and challenges that could be major setbacks. And like for me, getting this kidney infection, some of the days when it flares up, it's like, oof, can't do anything. Like, just need to rest. And I've had several of those days over the last month where I wanted to be productive or I wanted to do this yoga practice or do this other thing. And it's just like, nope, I need to rest. And that's how Saturn shows up, sort of undesirably, less auspiciously, where it's just sort of this weight on you of like, you've got to just stop, you got to just slow down, you got to rest. Or you try to push through and it gives you another obstacle and another obstacle. So Saturn is teaching us boundaries and restrictions and limits. So I've had to be much more restrictive in my diet, in my healthcare, and the practices I do. And I love it. So is this idea of like discipline actually equals freedom, right? So like if you are 90% committed to your exercise plan, that gives you that 10% wiggle room where now every day you're spending energy deciding like, is this the day? Should I rest today? Should I skip today? But when you have that 100% commitment and that clear, defined, firm discipline, there's a sense of freedom of that, of like, you don't have to think about it so much. You don't spend energy debating, like, are you going to do this or not? And this is something I've struggled with. I personally in my birth chart have Saturn in Scorpio, and Scorpio's sudden changes and ups and downs. Saturn doesn't like that, right? So I have this firm discipline, and then suddenly my whole life changes, and it's not always entirely in my own choice. It's like external circumstances sometimes, and I've got to adapt. So this is not as easy for me. And for some people, it is very easy. If you have Saturn in Capricorn or Saturn exalted in Libra, this level of firm, committed discipline might come easier to you or to other placements in your chart or other aspects. But people who have like Saturn in Aries or Saturn in Scorpio, this might be more of a challenge. And it's not an excuse or like something like you can't do anything about, but it shows like everyone is going to have areas where things are just more challenging. And that's one for me where I can have very firm discipline and structure, but I have to know also it's going to change. So finding that balance of staying firm and disciplined and adapting to change. Like if you have strong moon placements or Saturn in Cancer, this can show up this way as well. Or Saturn in Scorpio, these kind of things. Saturn in Pisces to some degree as well. So everyone's different. Everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. And this is this humbling time for me of learning what disciplines I need around my health at a new level, right? It's changed so much throughout my life, and there's times where I've got it nailed and I feel on top of it, and then it changes again. So I've been enjoying this new diet I have, or as recommended by this guide I'm working with. He's like, just eat as much salad as you want, as much vegetables as you want, fruits and vegetables, really simple, and no fried stuff, no restaurants, etc. And it's been awesome. Like my skin has improved a lot. I've had these injuries from my moto accident that have been very slowly healing. At least this last one on my forearm, which was the deepest one. And it's gotten actually way better since making these changes. Like less sort of rigidness to the scab, and it's softening and healing at a new level. Sleeps better, just feeling better in general, feeling lighter. So, a lot of good side effects of this, of being more disciplined with my health. So, that's something showing up for me. And then also just talking with a neighbor, like I was watching this little video documentary about a part of the blue zones in Costa Rica and showing the food they eat there traditionally, which actually does include some fried food, but it's all very slow, home cooked, just simple stuff from scratch. So nourishing. It's just nothing quite like that. And she talks about like how the slower the cooking, the healthier the food is, the better it is for you. I shared that with my neighbor, and we had this nice meal together. And she said that too, of how her mom would taste the soup she was making, and her mom would say, "You rushed the soup, didn't you?" And that really stuck with me as well, of this idea of how, at least for me personally, I'm cooking for myself most of the time. I do rush my cooking sometimes, and I do just do it as more of a almost necessity, of like just making food to make it. But my favorite food, the best tasting food is always that slow cooked, just nourishing from scratch. You take your time with it. So that's really stuck with me as well, of just taking my time with enjoying the food. And again, this is like a very specific, like Saturn in sixth house kind of thing. Also, it could be like Saturn in the second house. Second house has to do with your food, or Saturn over the first, just taking care of your body. Anyone who's having those transits, that would be Saturn in first as Aquarius people, Saturn in second would be Capricorn people right now. This right now it's happening, and that's always that's going to move in early 2025 where Saturn is placed. So we all get our turns with Saturn in all the houses, but that really stuck with me. Like not rushing the food, savoring the food, taking my time with it, and it does feel more nourishing for my body. Eating slower, all these things, more greens, more vegetables, and being more vigilant with it. So wherever Saturn is in your chart, it might be a good time to be more vigilant with that area. And as Saturn goes retrograde now, as I talked about in recent episodes, it's showing where we've got to go back over things and revise things, go back to what's worked well in that area for us, and make improvements there. So let's talk about what's going on for everybody this week from Friday, July 19th. We've got 5 noteworthy transits going on. That's movements of the planets. And then the sign they're in, you can look at your own chart, free birth chart at quietmindastrology.com, and imagine that planet, that transit is happening in that sign, in that house for you in your chart. So you're bringing this energy into that area of your life. But for everybody, Mercury moves into Magha nakshatra in Leo, the sign, on July 19th until August 21st, and over a month, an extended stay here for Mercury because it's going retrograde in early August. And on August 21st, it's going to go back to Cancer, and we're going to need to go back over things to do with our emotional world and all the Mercury and Cancer stuff I talked about in recent episodes. So, Mercury in Leo. Mercury, our communication, our thought process, our logic in Leo, where we find royalty, power, a regal energy. And in Magha, throughout all this as well, it's kind of unusual that would happen this way. But Mercury will be in Magha for this whole time over a month to August 21st. Magha is our connection to our ancestors. The symbol is a throne. It's this powerful leader energy. And our intelligence stepping into this powerful leader energy where we can learn a lot about ancient traditions. Now, my astrology mentorship program will be starting in this time. It's an amazing time to be learning astrology, using your logic to understand ancient traditions. And Magha is connection to our ancestors. So this is a time you may want to connect to your family lineage, maybe look at your DNA lineage and connect to your ancestors. Doing ancestral healing kind of work is very favorable as well. Learning about history, learning about traditions that you resonate with. I've been really enjoying getting deeper into Qigong and Chinese medicine. It's part of my health journey right now. But that's an example of also learning from an old tradition and learning how to work with that tradition. Mercury also represents the breath and the logical mind, which we can control with pranayama and the breath. If you got a lot of anxiety, worrisome thoughts, your breath is one of the best ways to access changing your physiology, changing your nervous system state. So you can help quiet the mind. Just do any simple breath work is beneficial. When Mercury goes retrograde, I always recommend alternate nostril breath as a way to help regulate the prana and the energy channels. But any breathwork practice is great through this cycle from July 19th to August 21st, and then really through the whole retrograde until late August. Learning, talking, communicating about any old traditions that you resonate with, connecting with family members, very favorable. Stepping into your power, I talked about as the theme for July. Go back to that episode. There's a lot of stuff this month about stepping into your power, being clearer in your communication, being firmer in your communication. And then on Friday, July 19th, the sun moves into Pushya nakshatra. So also the same day, by the way. So sun's in Cancer moving out of Punarvasu, the return of the light, we talked about recent episodes, and now into Pushya, which is much more nourishing energy. So Sun will be in Pushya for 2 weeks from July 19th. Great time for doing things that nourish you. Sun is your vitality, Pushya is nourishment, eating foods that nourish you, getting body work, self care, massage, bath, spa, time in nature, time with your pets, time just to nourish yourself, time with your spouse, your partner. Great time for any sort of healing work, receiving healing modalities. And if you have children, if you are providing nourishment to others as a parent, wonderful time for connecting with them. There's a softness to this transit where you can connect on a more vulnerable, connected level with your children. If you have them, if you don't have children, then it's maybe your pets, maybe friends, family members. Venus is with Pushya as this begins as well, which makes it very nourishing and nurturing for relationships. Wonderful energy for going on dates, doing things to really care for and nurture your partner. Then on Saturday, July 20th, Venus moves forward into Ashlesha. And Ashlesha is a very deep energy within Cancer. It's that transformative energy, like the Kundalini energy, like Rahu and Uttara Bhadrapada, also like the Kundalini energy. With Venus here now, brings this love to learn and understand deeper parts of yourself. It's just here for 10 days from July 20th to 30th. So, wonderful time for learning astrology, self practices, self awareness practices, Qigong, Kundalini, Tai Chi, yoga, meditation, studying philosophy. Anything that's going to help bring about a desired transformation in your life. Venus is desire. What do you want? Ashlesha is about transforming things and deeper understanding of yourself. It's a powerful energy and wonderful for working with these deeper awarenesses in yourself, like chakras, nadis, energy channels, the koshas, things like this. I teach a lot about this in my yoga classes. I give a lot of embodied practices to work with this. You can check out the Quiet Mind Yoga podcast for free classes or the Quiet Mind Yoga membership for hundreds of classes and how to work with this kind of deeper energy. And then maybe the most important transit this week is the Sunday, July 21st, the full moon in Uttarashada in Capricorn. So that will be, get down to the actual time of this one, at about July 21st at about 3:18 a.m. in Los Angeles Pacific time. So that would be like 5 p.m. or 5 a.m. in Central Time, 6 a.m. in Eastern Time. And the full moon, always a time of culmination, celebration, completion, closure. And the moon is illuminated by the sun. So there's more solar energy, and animals are more active at night because they've got more light to work with. Tends to be more accidents around the full moon, the day before, of, and after. Tends to be more emergency room visits at those times. So I generally like to kind of lay low around the full moon, not be out, not be too active, especially if there's like a big event in town. If I'm not going to it, there's going to be a bunch of traffic and kind of chaos downtown. If you're in a city, those kind of things, I generally just find it's best to avoid if you can. But if you do go out, stay centered, stay connected to your breath, stay in your center through that, because it's just a heightened energy. And what's the energy we're working with? Well, Uttarashada is a very powerful energy. It's like if you want something and you want to go towards it, it's an energy where you can make that happen. It's a sun nakshatra. So the sun energy is amplified even more on top of all the Magha Leo stuff with Mercury. So this day, July 21st, is a great day to do things that bring you vitality, to express your creativity, to do creative projects, to do things that enhance your vitality, like eating really good food, nurturing practices, yoga practices, time in the sun, time at the beach if you're near a beach, time in nature, and things that just light you up. Comedy, laughing, time with friends, some sort of celebration or event, but again, not too chaotic or too out there and active if you're in a city environment. Uh, kind of keeping it chill, but it is a good time to celebrate, especially in the summertime when we're in the Pitta season, the Pitta time of year. It's a good time to be out, to be celebrating more, having more celebrations and fun energy. But also, just staying centered is very important with this. So that's the full moon in Uttarashada. Powerful energy, great time to celebrate your victories, the things that you've accomplished, acknowledge them, celebrate your gratitudes, and then start to let go of things you don't need as you move towards the next new moon cycle in 2 weeks after this. So after the full moon, we got the waning moon, which is generally a good time for letting things go, creating some space in your life, freeing up energy as you move into the new moon, new beginnings in 2 weeks. And that's around the time. August 1st, I'll be hosting the Become Your Own Astrologer workshop. If you're wanting to go deeper into your astrology practices and really know the path to learning astrology, save you years of frustration and confusion, that's the workshop to do it. At quietmindastrology.com, you can sign up now for the Become Your Own Astrologer workshop. It's free, it's live on Zoom. If you can't make it live, there'll be a recording. But if you can join live, I'll be picking one person at random to get to win a reading with me. Can't even book a reading right now. I'm booked for the season, but that is an opportunity as well. I like to just be generous when I can and just give free things away. So that's an opportunity there by joining live. And if you're enjoying the podcast, share it with a friend. Astrology is more fun when we can share it with friends and see the patterns playing out in our lives and their lives. And you start to get more of a perspective, right? You have your way of seeing things. I have my way of seeing things. Other people have their way. And when you see astrology, you really understand the sort of beauty and the fascination of how each person is wired differently. And we all have our own unique strengths and weaknesses and our own things we bring to society, our own gifts to share, our own challenges. We have differences, but we see those differences as strengths. And astrology shows us who we really are at our essence and who other people are at their essence, knowing we always have free will, we always have choice. It's not fated, but it gives us this big picture perspective of how these energies are playing out and how we can work with them. So obviously, I'm a big fan. Hope you're a fan too. Hope you're enjoying the podcast. Look forward to sharing more with you next time on the Quiet Mind Astrology podcast.